Timmy wants to buy some booster boxes, and fair enough, who doesn't? But Timmy is on a budget. He can really only afford to buy one or two, and he's really hoping that because it's the new set, that he gets that new legendary he needs and some of those Majestics too. And so Timmy goes down to the LGS and blows his budget load all over the new set, probably buying one more box than he can really afford, and he starts to rip open all the packs, the dopamine just flooding his brain. He starts to practically vibrate with anticipation as he fantasizes about all the cold foils and super rare expensive cards he's gonna pull. But as he rips through the box, pack after pack, the dopamine starts to go down, that anticipation starts to wane, and when he's ripping open that final pack and he's just left with the fleeing joy and a pile of cardboard, he takes stock of what he got. And you know, Timmy probably didn't do too bad on his pulls. I mean, he did get a legendary, just unfortunately it wasn't the Shuko's that he needed. It was Ghostly Touch, one of the worst ones, and that kind of sucks. And hey, maybe he even got a Marvel Dragon, and that's pretty cool as well. But even for the Majestics, he didn't quite get all of the cards he needed for his new deck. And so now what? Timmy spent all of his card budget on those boxes, and he didn't quite get everything that he needed. And sure, with the Ghostly Touch and that rare Marvel Dragon, he did get some decent pulls, but they're not quite worth the price of the legendary that he needs. And even if he wants to trade or sell those cards in order to get the ones he needs, he has to go through the process, find somebody who wants what he has, or sell them to a store for less value than what they're actually worth. And that's not to mention the rest of the Majestics that he still needs to finish out his deck. And so now, Timmy is upset. I mean, he could have pulled a Cold Foil Crown of Providence or a Marvel Tomotai, but of course he didn't get any of those. His boxes weren't, completely awful, but also not being absolutely amazing means that he's not going to be able to make easy trades for what he does need. And that's the gamble that Timmy took. Opening up booster boxes is a gamble. You don't know what you're gonna get. And so now that Timmy has overspent on his card budget, he's gonna have to wait a few more weeks before he even has the money to start picking up those staples that he needs for his competitive deck. Chad, on the other hand, well, Chad wants some boxes too because, well, who doesn't? But Chad is also on a budget. And so when the new set comes out, he asks himself one question. What is more important? The fleeting joy of box openings and that insane gambling rush, or getting the cards he needs for his decks so he can play the game that he loves? Because sure, he could get insanely lucky and get amazing pulls, but Chad knows that he's probably just gonna get an average box. And at worst, he's gonna get something that's worth nothing and just get hosed. Chad even knows that by subscribing to this channel, he will have increased luck, but it still doesn't guarantee he's going to get the pulls he needs. And so he decides that no, he's not gonna buy the boxes. He would much rather pick up the singles that he needs, and so he can go to his LGS and play that fully tuned deck. And so Chad waits about a week after the set releases for the card prices to go down, and then he buys the specific legendary and the Majestics that he needs for his deck. And so Chad blows through his budget as well and isn't able to buy any more Flesh and Blood cards or product for a little while. And hell, maybe even like Timmy, he overspends on his budget. Both of these players will have to wait to buy anything more, but Chad has the competitive deck that he wants, and so he gets to spend the next few weeks playing and enjoying the game, whereas Timmy had that instant pleasure, quick joy of opening up the booster boxes, but is now stuck with a half-finished deck. The allure of buying booster boxes is incredibly strong, trust me, I know. But if you are on a budget, if you have a limit to how much money you can spend on the game, it's probably a much better idea to wait a week or so after a set releases and then spend your budget on the singles that you need. And that doesn't mean that you don't have to ever buy booster boxes. Remember, Flesh and Blood isn't doing the first edition one and done anymore. You're going to be able to pick up more of each set as the waves get released. So if you have a limited budget in a month, buy the singles that you need, wait a month until you have more money, and then buy a booster box or two and have that fun opening up the product. Ultimately, it is up for you to decide whether you want to open up boxes or buy the singles, but if you're going to be playing the game, it is often a much better decision to just buy the singles that you need from a store. Get your singles first and buy boxes later. Reject the Timmy mindset. Be a Chad.